the Pretti situation, the killing of Pretti, there's a second video came out that has provoked a lot of conversation. Now, I think the obvious thing is, I mean, weirdly, the White House hasn't come out hard on this.
Yeah, I think they know that if they did, it would backfire.
Right, because
it's a tell.
The interaction itself, where Pretti is shot, seems pretty cut and dry to me. I think it's cut and dry to a lot of people who were insulting towards him and called him, even they have backed off, even Stephen Miller, which was shocking. Tweet is still up, but
stunning.
The second video, I do think is interesting, though. It contextualizes things in a certain way. Yeah. What did you, I mean, if we describe to the people, it's him spitting on the car, or there's no ice officer there, but spitting on the car, kicking and knocking a taillight off, which was quite a kick to knock the entire taillight off. And then getting tackled, has a gun you can see in the video in his waistband. Weirdly, the ICE officers actually get up pretty quickly and walk away.
They handle it well.
They handle it pretty well. Yeah.
Credit to, I mean, that's the bearing the lead there. Like,
yeah.
Not all ICE agents are going to kill people who are. I think it paints a more complete picture of Alex Pretti, who I had written, pretty glowing things about, because the video, the first experience where he was killed, he was a peaceful observer, and people say, well, he was resisting arrest. He was helping a woman who got pushed down, and then he was basically pounced on. And then before, he was bear sprayed and attacked and then shot dead. And I think
all in about 8 seconds or something. Yeah.
Maybe 9.
Yeah.
I think the second video paints a clear picture of where his mindset was at. And he was clearly agitated. Mm-hmm. Did that make him an agitator? Did that make him sort of like part of this, I guess we'll know more details. I honestly think it's immaterial to what happened that cost his life. I think he was effectively murdered. And I am shocked by the eagerness by many to sort of use that second video to sort of dredge up their narrative that was lost in the first round. Because, the interesting thing that going back to Renee Good, the narrative that she was sort of like barreling and trying to kill an officer with her car had been out there for about 4 hours before the video emerged. And that was enough for that narrative to set so that people, when you saw the video, it was a sort of confirmation bias. The Pretti situation, like the video came out much, much quicker. So the Noam Miller sort of domestic terrorist was going to do a massacre. That didn't set because we could see like, wait, that's not at all what happened. Do you show up at that place with a gun? Like he was clearly, protesting against these ICE agents. I don't know that people realize how invasive and occupying the ICE agents are in Minneapolis. Like it's a real crazy developing world, crazy thing. So, the second video showed Alex Pretti to who he is, but I don't think that makes any difference to the way he was treated and killed.
For sure. Does it contextualize for people? And I know that there's everybody that uses every video or piece of evidence for their own sort of confirmation bias, right? And I think that video that came out of him being killed is pretty damn clear. We did an episode of the other show that I do with Peter Moskos, who is a police officer, former Baltimore police officer, then went to Harvard and is now a professor of criminology at John Jay. He consults with police departments, and he was horrified by the whole thing and was like, this is
hour.
Absolute amateur hour, and I cannot believe the way that they handled it, and it shouldn't have been handled that way. He did say, though, it is these people who are actually intervening when people are trying to be apprehended. They're trying to apprehend somebody. We don't know who those people are most of the time. It's not, is it an American citizen who's mistakenly picked up? Is it somebody who's been here for 25 years working very hard? Or is it somebody who's committed a sex crime or something like that? That kind of behavior, which we see in the video that happens afterwards with him kicking the thing off the car. I mean, surprised he didn't get arrested for that, by the way. Yeah. The local police should be there to arrest somebody. I mean, if somebody smashed up my car, I'd want them to be arrested. But the instinct was one of creating confrontation. That didn't happen in the video that was the one that we saw where his life ended on camera.
Yeah, no,
that didn't happen.
It sounds terrible.
But it is in his mindset in screaming at an armed officer, himself armed, which strikes me as incredibly ill-advised, and attacking the car and getting tackled. Like, that is something I don't know, because there's so many.
Taking a car is different than attacking an officer. And I think
of course it is. Of course it is. But it does suggest, like, I would never do that. There's a certain level of anger.
It's revealing.
That is
I think
revealing,
it's revealing.
right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's fair.
I don't think it's immaterial about him. I think it's immaterial
about the killing. Yeah, that's the point that I'm trying to say. And like I said, it adds layers, and we know more. And, he seemed to be a committed, he seemed to be a legally gun-carrying sort of progressive guy who doesn't, is opposed to federal occupation. And he served vets who were at the most vulnerable time at a VA hospital. Like, that paints a pretty, I think, righteous and profile of someone who cares. I wrote that was like, he's sort of the American that we should all aspire to be. And it was in the context, this was before the second video came out, but I still stand by that, because, that's a pretty unique profile that we don't see. Like, the New York Times did a thing that Democrats or progressives in Minnesota are protesting ICE by knitting hats. And then I saw a CNN segment where, like, there's choirs that are going around in song. It's like, guys, this is, you singing and knitting hats makes you feel good. It's a great virtue signal, but that is so ineffective. This is a guy that actually sort of put his money where his mouth was, and he stood up for it. So it's a tragedy. At the end of the day, the fact that, like, we need to draw a clear line around every time the government kills one of its own citizens, and the knee-jerk reaction to create a narrative that makes him somehow to blame when we could all see this video, I think is disgusting. And it really freaked me out, and I went hard against it. And the second video makes it more complicated, maybe, but I stand by
my worry about it, in a way, is that there was a protest. It might have been at the airport. There were all, like, religious leaders, and it was local police, by the way. It was a local police separating, and they should be there, by the way. They should be separating those people from interfering, whether or not I think that the person they're taking is a good person, a bad person. There has to be that local cooperation, that local wall, which hasn't happened. I hope that does now, and I hope in those conversations with Waltz and with Jacob Fry.
It seems like the ice is thawing. Terrible metaphor, but like they seem to be more. And
they're not crowd control people. Police are actually trained in that.
But I'm too skeptical to believe the Trump administration narrative that it's the local officials that are to blame. I also don't necessarily believe that the local officials are doing what they could be doing either. I think that there's probably, takes two to tango. I think there's a lot of blame. And I think the way that Waltz and Fry reacted sort of initially after Renee Goods, what they said was deeply irresponsible.
Horrible.
So I think, but at the end of the day,
the Anne Frank stuff, I think the Gestapo stuff, all this stuff, I find
just not ready for prime time.
It's not. It's embarrassing. But the worry is, though, that as the Marxists used to say, and I've said this a couple of times recently, is heightening the contradictions. Right. Is that this was successful in the sense that two people lost their lives. I don't think there's anybody that's celebrating that. But they do see the administration doing something they almost never do, which is walk back slightly with their tail between their legs, slightly, because the numbers are so negative for them.
They lost the narrative battle.
And if they can create the situation to lose narrative battles in other fields of ICE operations, it doesn't change the fact that people are underqualified. They're being rushed into this with bonuses and little training, and they're acting psychotic. I mean, there's a video that
they're acting like that. They're with impunity. They can do whatever they want.
You saw this video. I'll mention them again. Fire posted this video on their Twitter feed of one of these officers saying,
"Raise your voice.
I will end your voice.
I'll erase your voice.
I'll erase your voice." I mean, you do not see that.
That's Hungarian.
With police body cam videos.
Yeah.
You don't.
Right.
You just don't.
Right.
It doesn't happen. They're much better trained about that.
Smartphones have changed this whole thing in ways that are mostly good, but also video has proven to be, it gives this sort of feel of authenticity. But again, we miscalculate the sort of human condition and confirmation bias that oftentimes video just proves what you want. Like, look at VAR in the Premier League, or like instant review in the NFL. Like, that's pass interference. No, it's not. Like, the team, you see what you want to see that benefits the team you're supporting for. And that's no different from what we're seeing here. And it's, I'll bring back the semiotics. Can really end on a good note.
It is a great analogy that my daughter and I obsessively watch hockey. We're NHL fans. And she's always surprised when there's a call against the Bruins. And I'm like, fair call. She's like, what? No. And I'm like, no, you can't. You got to call it. Like, it's clearly a trip.
Yeah.
Because every time we're like, oh, fuck you. And it was the other way around, of course.
We're getting ripped.
That's
Arsenal has never had a fair yellow card against them. But I'm, because I'm biased. That's the way it works.
And for those of you out there, I like to send you other places than this platform. The Fifth Column just did a great interview with Chuck Klosterman about his new book about football, and we had a long conversation about how technology changes the game. It absolutely applies to politics.
Yep.
And I remember there was somebody, I think it was a guy from Emmanuel Cleaver, I think, from Missouri, who said, the first time I'd heard this, and I'm trying to remember, probably the first time it was 2011, 12, said in this crush of Tea Party people that he was called the N-word repeatedly, and it was like a chant or something. And it was at the time, then alive, Andrew Breitbart, who made a point that would hear a million times after, was that if you didn't capture it on a video, it didn't happen.
Right.
And that was a thing that all of these things kind of melted away. And it gave a fairness to a lot of this stuff. And we did find out, which we didn't know at the beginning, that those were Border Patrol agents with Pretti, not ICE agents. And Border Patrol agents do wear body cams. ICE agents do not. The body cams have changed everything. And just watch stuff on YouTube.
It's the panopticon. Everything's being, and if it's not body cams or smartphones, it's the algorithms that's checking every click that you do. Like, we're being tracked and watched all the time. And I think the pernicious effect of all of that will reveal itself over the next 10 years. So maybe these are the good old times. Maybe we're going to look back at this time as a wonderful time.